question when we said...
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us for the learning of Torah Hashem, Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. As always, we begin to share with appreciation to TorahAnytime.com for giving us this magnificent platform to teach Torah all over the world. Or just a few weeks ago, I looked at my dashboard and I saw that over 1,000 people viewed and listened to this share just on Torah Anytime alone. That's besides, we also are very grateful to the global platform that Kol HaLashon gives us. Kol HaLashon is used by people. Many people don't have a computer in the home. They're very afraid of its influence, and there are many, 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 many thousands of Jews that listen on Kol HaLashon. So we thank Kol HaLashon for its pure global network. YouTube, we have hundreds of people watching on YouTube. And of course, how could we forget the pioneer of Harbatzas Torah? The shiurim I heard on Rebelli Tadelbaum, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Zchus Yagim Aleinu, his Torah Communications Network. We thank our Zoomers and we thank our subscribers. We have two sponsors tonight. The shir is sponsored by my dear Talmud and editor, Sheldon Zeitlin to be more exact. He said specifically that all women that are waiting for children should be blessed with children. We'll add that all those that are waiting for their shidduch should find their shidduch. And all those that are undergoing Yena Machla should have a refuah shalema. We also will add, although he didn't say it, but he does it every night in Sanhedrin, but that we learn for his wonderful children, Eli and Orit and Ora, that they should have everything wonderful. We also have a co-sponsor tonight, Binyamin Rivlin, who is also one of the co-sponsors of Masechta Sanhedrin, in honor of Rosh Chodesh Adar and Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Adar. It should indeed be a simcha for everyone. If you would like to sponsor one of these shiurim, it's very easy. You text me at 718-916-3100. Again, 718-916-3100. Or to my email, which is still a Staten Island, I didn't change it, rmmwsi, Rabbi Moshe Meir Staten Island, at AOL.com. You see, I'm still an old timer at AOL.com. At least it's not at CompuServe.com, which is how I started. And we also will say that if anybody wants to support the share, it's very easy, but either to Zelle or PayPal, to that email, rmmwsi, Rabbi Moshe Meir Staten Island, at AOL.com. So we know that although the Mishkan was only for 40 years, it takes up 4 parshiyos in the Torah. 4 parshiyos in the Torah. A structure that's only for 40 years, which is a blip in the millennia of time, takes up 4 parshiyos in the Torah. Now we know that the Torah was written for all ages, right? That we know. And Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Yom B'chol Yom V'Yom Yeh Beinecha Kachadashes. So Rav Miller writes extensively in his Svarim on Chumash that the Mishkan is also a blueprint for the Jewish home, because the Jewish home is supposed to be a mikdash mat. That's what we wished a chassan and kala, that they should be baina a binyan adayad, and they should make a veritable mikdash mat, a mini sanctuary. We know that the central focus of the Beis Hamikdash is the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies. A Jewish home, also its focus should be on Torah. I remember of Shraga Feivel Mendelovich said that the main room in a Jewish house should be the dining room and not the living room. This is in the living room, people sit down, they talk, they could be speaking Lashon Hara, they waste time. In the dining room, people are eating L'Kavod Shabbos, they have guests that they support, they sit and learn Torah on the table, they bench on the table, they say Divrei Torah by the table. The main attraction of a Jewish home should be Svarim. In the center of the room, there shouldn't be pictures of baseball players. For sure, there shouldn't be a big screen. The children should see the focus of the house is Torah. That should be the main focus of the house. As the Beis Hamikdash advances to the west, the Shechina is B'Mariv, and the inner, most sanctified place was the Kodesh Kodashim that contained the Aron, which contained the Sefer Torah. It had a Torah, it had the Luchas, and it had the Shivrei Luchas. That's the focus of a Jewish home, which makes sense, right? Because we know that Talmud Torah Keneged Kula. We know that the Kodesh Kodashim is the place where the Even Shasiya is. The Even Shasiya is where Hashem started making the world. So it makes sense that resting right there is the Torah, because Bereshis, B'Shvil Torah, the world was created, B'Shvil Torah, Shenikra Reishis, Reishis Tvoasa. And that's the purpose of our existence. Like it says in Pirkei Avos, in Labadat Torah, if you learn a lot of Torah, Al Tazik Toivalatz, don't think you're so great. Kilakach Mitzarta. That's why you were created. That's. Now, of course, the Kodesh Kodashim is the holiest place on earth. No one can enter it except for the holiest Jew, the Kohen Gadol, on the holiest day of the year. What do we have in the Kodesh Kodashim? I mean, what's so holy? What's there? So we know that there's this chest with the Torah, the Luchas, and the broken Luchas, and on top of it are Keruvim. And the Gemara says in Chagiga Daf Yud Gimel Amid Beis that what are Keruvim? Keravya, like children. Shekain beBavel Kairin liyanuka Ravya. Because in Babylon, they called a child Ravya. So Keruvim means it was an image of a boy and a girl. So what is in the holiest place on earth? A boy and girl on top of the Torah. Because that's the secret. That's the secret of the existence of the world. She'eina oila miskayim ela b'shvil hevel tinaika shel beis Rama. The world only exists because of the Torah learning, the pure, before they are worthy of sin, the pure Torah learning of school children. That's why you have a boy and a girl on top of the Torah. It's a pasuk in Tehillim, mipi aylulim v'yankin, from the mouth of the youth, from the young, yisadata oiz, I made the foundation of strength, lahashbis oyev, to stop the enemy, umisnakein, and to avenge ourselves on the enemy. It's the children. There also is a remez that the Tzrar Hamar says, the pasuk says that v'loshin raka, a soft tongue, tishaber gorim, breaks bones. Now, that's the lashon of the pasuk, and it means that we could accomplish more with a soft answer than shouting. Like it says, manerach, a soft answer, meishiv chema, retards anger. But the Tzrar Hamar, an ancient sefer, the Tzrar Hamar says, tishaber gorim, tishaber is tinoike shel beis rabban, tashbar, tishaber, tinoike shel beis rabbam, gorim. It means, gorim stands for gezeres rois mevatlam. The children's learning, tinoike shel beis rabbam, gezeres rois mevatlam. Who knows? In Bat Yam, where they had the 5 buses with bombs in them. They said it instead of 9 a.m., 9 p.m. It would have been a Holocaust. Who knows, maybe the school children that were learning in Bat Yam saved Bat Yam. That's what it says. Tashbar Dorim, Tinoike Shel Beis Rabam, Gzeres Rois Mevatlam. The veteran Talmidim of this year heard this story from me more than once, but I can't help it. It is consistent with the subject matter, so I'm going to repeat it. You'll forgive me for the review. During the Scud missile attacks, now if you remember in those days, it's already a while ago, the Scud missile had a nose that you could unscrew and pack with chemical warfare. And there was a very big fear that they would shoot a missile whose warhead had chemical warfare. No, chemical warfare could kill millions of people. At the time, everybody got a gas mask, and at the height of the Scud missile attacks, they also gave a packet of injections to every person. And they would announce it on the radio if there was any type of a chemical. Maybe they would put cholera, malaria in the warhead. There would be injections. So if you were a kindergarten teacher and you had 30 children in your class, you got 31 gas masks, 30 small ones, and 1 big one for yourself, and 31 packets of injections. And they said if the siren goes off, you got to put the gas masks on the children and give them the injections. Imagine 30 screaming children putting on gas masks, giving them injections. So a group of very concerned Rebbeim and Moros visited the Paisik Hadar of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. And they said that they respectfully request that until the danger stops, that they should close the chadarim. They said, how are we going to get, which child are we going to pick first to put the mask on? How are we going to do this? You need a gadol hadar to answer this question. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach looked at them and said, I'm sorry, I'm not closing the schools. Because if we close the schools, then we're doomed. Our first line of defense are the children that are in school. That's why we have to think 100 times before we close down a school, before we take a day away. It's 2 inches of snow, you don't close school. Because children learning, woo! That's what we have in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Everything in the Mishkan wasn't for 40 years. It was its symbolism for all time. For example, it says, Shnayim kruvim zav, mikshe ta'asaisa. The 2 kruvim have to be made one piece with the kapayros, with the ark cover. Now that was very hard. You had to take the ark cover and that one piece of gold and make the kruvim together with the cover. It would have been a lot easier to make one kruv than another kruv and attach it to the cover. No. Mikshetasayisam. It has to be one piece. Why is that? Ooh. It's teaching us such a lesson in chinuch. There are people that say, you know what? When my child becomes bar mitzvah, when my daughter becomes bas mitzvah, then I'm going to teach her tznius. Then I'm going to teach him, frumkeit. But when he's a child, let him be like all the children. He's only a child. Later I'll attach him to the Torah. No, one piece. At a very young age, a girl has to learn to be tznius. A girl already should learn from a little age to close her legs. There's something, they're dressing little kids like goyim. They come to simchas in shorts. Why are you dressing your child in shorts? That's not the way a Bas Yisrael dresses. Already from a young age we teach tznius. A boy shouldn't come to shul and at 9 years old be running around in the hall. No, he said when he becomes bar mitzvah, then I'll attach him to the right behavior. No. One piece ta'asayisam, already from the beginning. It has to be the right chinuch. That's the way parents have to look at chinuch. Child has to learn from a very young age to say please, to say thank you, to respect an older person. No, when they grow up, now they don't understand. Old, schmold. I'll give you another chinuch lesson. Very interesting. Or Sameach. Zechet Tzadik Livracha, Schusi Yogan Aleinu. Very interesting Or Sameach. The Or Sameach says that the din is with the other kalim of the Beis Hamikdash. With the menorah, for example. If they didn't have gold, you could make it out of copper. You could make it out of wood. At the time of the Maccabees, when they defiled the menorah, they first had a menorah, according to one medrash, they first had a menorah of wood, and then they had a menorah of bats, of tin. Same thing is true with the shulchan. Or Sameach says the exception is the kruvim. The kruvim cannot be made out of any material except for gold. It's an osameh. You can't have copper kruvim. You can't have tin kruvim. The kruvim have to be gold, says the osameh, because when it comes to chinuch, there's no compromise on chinuch. You can't compromise on chinuch. You can compromise on a lot of things, not on chinuch. So interesting how Rav Moshe was makpid on every detail of chinuch. I know that one of Rav Moshe's grandchildren was thinking about sending a child to an elementary school that was going to start teaching Gemara not with Elu Metzias. The minig is that we start Gemara with the second parak of Metzia, Elu Metzias. And he mentioned that this school is going to learn brachas. Rav Moshe said, don't send to that school. There's a reason why the minig is to start with Elu Metzias. Says if you start with brachas, the children will think that you only have to be frum in shul. Elu Metzias teaches you have to be a good Jew even when you're in the street and you find a wallet in the street. He said something else also interesting. He says if you start with brachas, and it says over there that you have to be attentive in shul, the children will see their parents and see that they're not attentive and think that their parents are not good people. Says you got to start with Elu Metzias. No compromise in chinuch. I told you this many times. Rav Moshe held there were certain more modern schools that stagger the classes and have certain classes. Let's say they have 4 6th grades. So 2 of the 6th grades, they start learning English in the morning and Limudei Kodesh in the afternoon. Now they do it for a very good reason. They do it because they want to give the Rebbe a full day's wage. This way the Rebbe could teach 1 grade Limudei Kodesh in the morning, and another grade Limudei Kodesh in the afternoon. So the Rebbe would have a full day's work. But Rav Moshe says you can't do it. Because the children that start learning English in the morning get the subliminal message that English is more important than Hebrew. You can't do that. Can't do it. Chinuch is gold. You can't substitute the gold. No compromises with chinuch. I say this firmly because there are many of our young, real estate in the Jewish world is a very big challenge. Because as soon as the neighborhood gets popular, the houses skyrocket, and they're not within the reach of our children anymore. So children have to go to places where the real estate is cheap. But children cannot afford to go to places where the chinuch is subpar. They can only live where the chinuch is golden. You cannot compromise on chinuch. There are many families that make this mistake and they pay for it. You can't compromise on chinuch. Hakruvim, hoyupersei knafayim lamala, their wings were lifted above, upneim ishel achiv, and they faced one another. This means that we're supposed to be mechanech our children in the 2 chalokim of the Torah. The wings going above, that's bein adam l'makom. That's our relationship with Hashem. the laws of Shabbos, the laws of kosher, the laws of shatnez, the laws of basa b'chalev. Right? That's the Parsei Knafayim Lamala. Pneim Ishal Achiv, that's the category of Bein Adam L'Chaveira, of the laws that govern our existence with one another, the laws that govern human relations. That you're not allowed to bear a grudge, you're not allowed to take vengeance, you're not allowed to hate someone in your mind, you're not allowed to desire what's not yours. Now, it's very important to know that you can't be a good Jew if you have one without the other. In other words, let's say somebody learns 18 hours a day. Oh, but he's not nice to his wife. He's not a good Jew. That's not a good Jew. He's not nice to his wife. That's not a good Jew. You can't have one without the other. There has to be Bein Adam L'Makam and Bein Adam L'Chaveira. That's why the two luchas, the first luchas is Bein Adam L'Hashem, the second luchas is Bein Adam L'Chaveira. They're equal in size. They're equal in everything. They're both important. Many say that that's the reason why the Torah starts with a base, to tell us that there's two portions in the Torah, Bein Adam L'Makam and Bein Adam L'Chaveira. Now we said in the last week's shir, a very important Pirush HaMishnayos Rambam in the beginning of Masechtas Peah. The Rambam says that although Schar Mitzvah B'Hayal Maleka, reward for mitzvahs is in the next world, but for Bein Adam L'Chaveira there's reward in this world. So that means if a person is a good wife, if a person is a good husband, then they're going to get rewarded in this world. If a person is a good friend, if a person is careful not to bear a grudge, they forgive and they forget. If a person is careful never to talk behind someone's back, there's a reward in this world. I'm going to tell you another thing that a lot of people don't know. It's brought down that for the sins of Bein Adam L'Makayim, the sins between us and God, punishment is in Gehenna. The sins between us and our fellow man, we get punished in this world, Rachmana litzlan. Have to be very careful with the sins of Bein Adam L'Chaveira. Now I want to share with you something from Reb Leibel Katz. Zechat Tzadik L'Vracha, Zchusi Yagen Aleinu, from his Sefer Oyel Aryeh. What a loss that we lost Reb Leibel during COVID. What a loss. What a loss to the world. What a repository of Torah he was. I mean, every year I take out his Oyel Aryeh and I enjoy it. Every year I see more and more and enjoy it more and more. So it says, "Akruvim ayaparsei knafayim lamala upneim ishal achiv." So he says that when we raise our hands above in heaven, upneim ishal achiv, we should be davening not just for ourselves, but we should be davening for each other. Now, to followers of Lubavitch, this is not a chiddush. You see, in their siddur, in the beginning of tefillah, they articulate, they say it. Hareini mekabel alai mitzvahs aseh shel v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. At the beginning of their davening, it's in the Chabad Siddur. In the Chabad Siddur, it says in the beginning of their davening, Hareini mekabel alai, I accept upon myself mitzvahs aseh shel v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. Now this is not an invention of Chabad. Actually, the Magen Avram on Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Mem Vav Sif Aleph, brings from Shara Kavonis. Shara Kavonis was written by Reb Chaim Vital, so this is a direct quote from the Arizal, Chusa Yogan Aleinu, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. He says that before davening, a person should have in mind to be Mekayim v'ahavta l'reacha kamoicha. Love your friend like yourself. Just like we daven for ourselves, we should daven for Yiddishkeit. Now, Rabbi say, this idea should change our davening. Our davening should be of a global variety. Now, it makes sense, because tefillos keneged karbanos tikna. Our tefillos correspond to the karbanos. Shachris is keneged the tamid shel shachris, the perpetual offering of shachris. Mincha is tamid shel bein arbayim, and Mariv is the haktorah seivarim u'pedarim, the smoking up of the limbs and the fats of the offerings. These are communal offerings. So since our davening is keneged karbanos tzibur, our davening should be communal in nature. That's why we say everything in the plural. Slach lanu, forgive us, rifa'enu, kura, shma kelenu, listen to our voices, right? Slach lanu, forgive us. What are we doing? Re'ein avanyenu, see our struggles. We're doing everything in the plural. So for example, I'm giving you ideas. This will make our davening better. We say Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom Aleinu. You know how many families there are where the husbands and wives are constantly bickering? So you have in mind, Rebbeinu Shalom, please, they should find a way to get along with each other. Now don't forget, when we do that, we're davening for Hashem's children. And it gives Hashem such a nachas that He gives us a reward. If you pray for your friend, and you need it also, you'll be answered first, so we'll have Shalom Bayis. But Ramila makes a very big point, that when you say Sim Shalom, you're not only praying for marital harmony. You know, they already a generation ago, they used to call it the Prozac generation. Prozac is an antidepressant. Now I hear from the drugstores they can't stock enough Xanax. Xanax is an anti-anxiety medicine. They can't stock enough of it. There are a lot of people that are troubled. You walk in the street and you look at people there. They're downcast, they're frowning, they have grimaces. In Sim Shalom, you pray people should have peace of mind. Peace of mind. Now, of course, when we say Sim Shalom today, we should have in mind all the soldiers that are risking their lives protecting our people, putting themselves in harm's way among savages, ruthless savages. Sim Shalom. Not just the soldiers. The people in Israel, think about those 5 moms. And that's just one bracha. There's so many brachas. Now, of course, we can't have too long of a Shemana Esrei. They'll lock the shul before we're finished. But that's okay. We have 3 Shemana Esreis a day. That's a lot of Shemana Esreis. That's 18 Shemana Esreis a week. We could vary. You have a bracha, Baruch Aleinu, a bracha of Parnasa. You know how many Jews are out of work? Very bad economy. Many Jews are out of work. A lot of industries are suffering in the economy, and they're cutting the fat. And they're letting people that make a lot of money go, and they're hiring younger people who don't need so much money. And these people that they let go, they have mortgages, they have tuitions, and very, very, very quickly they get into a lot of trouble. Very quickly. Doesn't take too long to be behind the 8 ball. So in Baruch Aleinu, we have what to daven for. And what about in Rafa'enu? You know, I took Mem Libi Aleh Hashalom, Zichran L'Bracha, Schusi Yagan Aleinu, for 2.5 years to 37 chemos. And that one chemo lab had scores of beds every day, Yidden, from a Yidden receiving chemo. There's chemo labs all over the country. There's dialysis centers all over the country. There are places for radiation. All kinds of things. Arafeinu Hashem v'nei Rafei. I'll tell you also another trick that I have. Anytime I find myself in a new place, like last week, we went for first time in my life, we went for 3 days to Orlando. So where does a Yid daven? I don't know where to daven. I came to Orlando. I daven in Chabad of Orlando. So when I daven my Shemana Esrei, I said, Hashem, please, Shema Kaleinu, listen to all the voices of the Yidden in Orlando. You visit, you're going, let's say, to the aquarium in Camden with your children. You daven a mincha in Camden or in Cherry Hill. All the Yidden in Cherry Hill, Shema Kaleinu. Learn to be global. Learn to daven. Hashem says that gives me so much nachas. But let me tell you, it was a real find. There's a Tana de Be'Eliyahu. You know who the author of the Tana de Be'Eliyahu is? Eliyahu Hanavi. So we know that there's a pasuk. You all heard the pasuk. Zacharti la chesed nurayich. I remember the kindness of your youth. Abbas klula yisayich, the love of your maidenhood. So Bapashtis, the pasuk is referring to what it says at the end of the pasuk. Lech teich achrei bamidbar be'eretz lo yizrua, that you trusted me and you followed me into the desert where there's no food. You took 1 million children into the desert without food. I remember that. That's the simple pshat of the pasuk. But listen to this Tana de Be'Eliyahu. Zacharti la chesed nurayich. I remember the kindness of your youth. Kisheim klal Yisrael b'Mitzrayim. I remember when you were in Egypt. V'kol echad hayu lo tzar, and you were all suffering avodas perech. Perech means crushing. Nefreches. We were crushed. We were crumbling. Mikol mokom hayu mishtatef b'tzari shel chaveirei. You prayed for each other. Says Eliyahu Hanavi, v'chesed zu Haya chaviv ma'od lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oy, zacharti lo chesed nerayach, that you didn't only think about yourself. You didn't only pray for me, myself, and I, you prayed for each other. That's something we should get used to. I give you an example. It comes to Shema Kaleinu. Shema Kaleinu. Do you know how many singles there are that are cresting 40? A girl crests 40, she starts panicking. Her biological clock is running out. She wants to have a child. I'm not talking about 100 girls. I'm not talking about 1,000 girls. I'm talking about tens of thousands of girls that are cresting 40. And much more that are cresting 30. And their pick of boys is not so much anymore. The boys are very picky, they want a younger girl. You know how much there's to daven for? We're davening for Hashem's children. When we do that, Hashem says, that gives me such nachas, zacharti lo chesed u'royach. And then I'll make the shidduch easy for you. You're married off your children for your grandchildren. Kol hamispal bad chaveru v'hu tzarich lo yisadav v'hu nena tchila. V'asu aron atzei shitim. Make an aron out of shitim wood. V'tzipisa isai zov mibayis mechutz tetzapen. So Rashi says there were 3 boxes. Gold on the outside, gold on the inside, and a wooden box in the middle. Says the Chizkuni, says the Dazakanim Balei Tosfos, that really the orange should be completely gold. After all, the Torah is Nechamodim mizav u'mipaz rav. It's more precious than zav and the finest gold. But since the Levium had to carry the Aron on their kosef, on their shoulders, so Hashem was concerned about the heaviness for the Levium, so he said, make some of it wood. The Chizkuni says this, and the Dazakanim says this. No, Rabbi said, is an obvious question. The obvious question is that there's a famous Gemara. The Gemara says in Saita Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph that the Aron is Noisei Noisav. That the Aron carries those that carry it. That's why Uziel broke his neck. Because when it looked like the Aron was stumbling and he went to catch it, he broke his neck because he should have known that the Aron is Noisei Noisav. The Aron doesn't need support. So if the Aron carries those that carry it, why do you have to make the middle box wood? They're not carrying it anyway. A big question. It's such a big question. It's very rare to see that on the Chumash, if you look in the Chumash, the Dazakanim Balei Tosfos says Tzarachian. I don't know the answer. Very unusual to see a Dazakanim Balei Tosfos say Tzarachian. So I want to suggest an answer. Of course, they didn't have to feel the weight. When they put it on their shoulders, the Aron carried them. But the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to teach us a lesson that you should be concerned about the weight. So put wood in the middle to teach us this lesson. It's a symbolic lesson. So that when you bring home the groceries and you're emptying the back of the car, don't leave for your wife the heavy bags with all the bottles and the potatoes, and you take the bags with the tissues and the toilet paper. But Reb Lehu Katz comes up with another answer. Reb Lehu Katz says, yes, the Oren carries you, but only after you exerted all your strength. I want to compare it to Basya. Yes, her hand stretched out 400 amas, but only after she stretched it as far as it could go. You have to do all your effort, and then there will be a miracle. So Hashem didn't want us to have to carry it that heavy, so he made it. Now I want to tell you that all of these lessons, there's many lessons that we learn from the Aron about sensitivity. All of these lessons, that's Torah. Torah, when the Gemara quotes a pasuk from the Torah, what does the Gemara say? Rachmana Amar. The merciful one says. The Torah teaches us sensitivity, to be sensitive. Same way, it says that Shavuos doesn't have a Chalamoid. Now, of course, the simple reason why Shavuos doesn't have a Chalamoid is because there would be no significance to a Chalamoid. Pesach has a Chalamoid because we went out of Mitzrayim on the 15th of Nisan. Then we had the scary days where the Egyptian was chasing us until Shvi Shal Pesach, where we had the miracle of Kriyas Yamsuf. So the first day is the miracle of the Exodus, the last day is Kriyas Yamsuf, and the middle days were Nishtahin Nishtaher. We had miracles, the Egyptians couldn't touch us, but 9 million Egyptians were chasing us. That's why there's a Chalamoid. Sukkot also is Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, so there's also a Chalamoid. But Shavuos is Matan Torah, it's only one day. What would be a Chalamoid? But you know what the Medrash says? Doesn't give that answer. Medrash says, you know why there's no Chalamoid? Because Shavuos is at the time of the harvest season. And to have a Chalamoid would mean that 4 days they couldn't harvest, or 5 days. And Chos HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Mamaynan Shel Yisrael, Hashem cares about our money. What do you mean cares about our money? He made our budget on Rosh Hashanah. But he wants to teach us sensitivity. You have to be concerned about people's money. You have to be concerned about people's money. Now, we all know that unlike the other Kalim in the Beis Mikdash, that are whole Amos, the Aron, its height, its width, and its length, was all fractions. That's Amasayim v'chetzi arkai, 2.5 amas long, v'ama v'chetzi rachbai, an amma and a half wide, v'ama v'chetzi kamas, an amma and a half high. Everybody asks why by the Aron is the only time that the amas were in fractions. Everything else were whole amas. Here everything is fractured. Why is that? Why is that? So the Rishonim weigh in. They say the Aron represents Torah. It represents the Talmud Chacham. The Talmud Chacham is supposed to be humble. He's supposed to feel that he's only a half. He's not a whole. That's the nature of a Talmud Chacham. That's why the great man of Torah, we call it Torah's Moshe, was Moshe on a Moed Mikol Adam. That's why the Torah was given on Har Sinai, not on Har Tova, not on Har Carmel, but on lowly Har Sinai. That's why the Torah is compared to water. Water flows from high to low. That's one reason they say. The Nesivos Das brings down from a Rishon. I'm surprised he doesn't quote which Rishon. Otherwise I would tell you. But he brings down from one of the Rishonim that says that it's because an am and a half, 2.5 is considered amoy shvurus. They're broken. They're not whole. He says the Torah thrives only when people break themselves over the Torah. It's not easy. It's 5 to 11. It's not easy to be on a work night at a shir 5 to 11. We have to kill ourselves a little bit over it. And a person has to break themselves over it. The Klei Yakar and the Likutei Ritzbah says that it's that the Talmud Chacham should know that whatever he knows about any subject, he only knows half the story. Nobody should have the attitude when they learn anything, BTDT, been there, done that. You only know half the story. We only know half. There's so much to know. We only know half the story. And that's why we can learn from everybody. We can hear new insights and new details from everybody. I can't believe we're running out of time. It's already 51 minutes. And there's a very important subject that I want to speak to you about. Before I start, I don't want to forget, I want to remind you that again tomorrow night, as I broadcast here from Deerfield Beach, Florida, we have a special schedule, a special feature tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and it'll be on Zoom. We're going to have a shir entitled, Let's Get Ready for Purim. It will be actually for the Shabbos table, Rosh Chodesh Adar. It will be along for the Shabbos table. And after that, we will have the daf at about 9:10. I want to thank our sponsors for this share tonight, Shelley Zeitlin and Binyamin Rivlin. And if you would like to sponsor one of these shiurim, please text me. We do not have a sponsor for next week's shir. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. It says, Vasisa alav zer zahav saviv. You should make around the Aron a golden crown round about. Now the Torah tells us that 3 of the Kalim have a golden crown. The Aron, the Shulchan, and the Mizbeach. The crown around the Aron represents the Keser Torah. The crown around the Shulchan represents the Keser Malchus, the crown of royalty. And the crown around the Mizbeach represents the Keser Kahuna, the crown of priesthood. But we know that the Mishnah says in Masechtas Avos that there's another crown. The Keser Shem Tov Oila Al Gabeihen. The crown of a good name towers above them. It says, Tov Shem Mishemen Tov. A good name is better than the most goodly oil. That means better than the crown of royalty, which is Nimshach B'Shemen HaMishcha. Better than the crown of priesthood. We used to anoint the Kohen Gadol with the Shemen HaMishcha. And better than the Shamna Shel Torah is a crown of a good name. As a Talmud of Rav Moshe, I had a front row seat to watch how Rav Moshe cultivated his entire life. I mean, of course, I didn't see him his entire life. But from the 10 years that I was constantly around him, I was able to watch. And by the way, I will tell you a personal thing. I learned more about this than I did about learning. When I was young, I didn't comprehend what I do now of his incredible, magnificent, encyclopedic knowledge of every nook and cranny of learning. But I did drink from the warmth of his humanity. And I saw anybody that remembers the era of Rav Moshe knew that everyone loved Rav Moshe. Everyone just, like Rav Miller said, I love that man. That's what Rav Miller said. But everybody was that way. And we're supposed to learn that the Torah wants us to wear the crown of a good name. It is the litmus test and the barometer of whether Hashem is happy with us. It says in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Kol sheruach habricha is noicha imenu. If people are at ease with us, then ruach hamokum noicha imenu. Then Hashem is at ease with us. The word at ease is a precisely selected word. With many people, you're walking on eggshells. You don't know how they were going to react. Are they going to be irritable? Are they going to criticize? Are they going to complain? Are they going to be with satire? Are they going to be with irony? Are they going to make fun? Are they going to talk to you as a child? With some people, you're just at ease with. Those people who know how to get along with all kinds of people and greet with a smile all people. Those are people that have a keser shem tov, the crown of a good name. And although it's great, the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty, but the Mishnah says, keser shem tov oila al gabeim. The crown of the good name towers above them. Gemara tells us, La'olam yehei adam rach kekana. A person should be soft like a reed. A reed bends. The person is not rigid. Rigidity, people are not comfortable with rigid people. People are comfortable with accepting people, with people that have a kind demeanor, with people that have a smiling face. When we're looking for somebody to daven for the Amid on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, you know what we look for? Of course, it's nice that you have a nice voice. It's nice that you know the Nusach. But what we look for is a person that's ma'urav im abriyos, that gets along with people. That's the ambassador we want when we want somebody to pray for our life. There's a reason for this. In Masechtas Kala Rabasi, it says that if a person pursues peace, Ein tefilosai chayzeres reikam. Their tefillah is never turned back empty-handed. And in Kala Rabasi, which is from the Masechtas Ketanis, it says in Gematria, Shalom is the same, Shalom is 376, is the same gematria as Shaveya, which is 376. So we're looking for a person that everybody gets along with. That's the Kesser Shem Tov. Now, you want to have a Kesser Shem Tov? It's not easy, a Kesser Shem Tov. Crown of a good name. It takes a lifetime to cultivate this crown. You have to be above suspicion. It says, you should be clean in the eyes of Hashem and Yisrael. Now, wait a second. It's not enough that if you're clean in the eyes of Hashem, isn't that enough? Hashem is Beichel Koyes V'Lev. He knows what's going on in our kidneys, in our heart. If we're clean in the eyes of Hashem, isn't that? No. You have to be above suspicion of people. Because otherwise you won't have a crown of a good name. Hashem knows you're good. But we're supposed to be good in people's eyes. We have to always be, if a man is in the street and he's yelling at his wife, you know what people think? Feh. Now, even if the husband is right, his wife is driving him nuts. Wife is driving him nuts. I know I never tell a joke, and especially not a marriage joke. But my good friend Mark Rosenblum, who we're hoping to get back on the shir, he told me tonight that a man complained to his rabbi, my wife is trying to poison me. So he says, look, don't be so dramatic. He said, no, Rabbi, I'm telling you, she's trying to poison me. So he says, okay, I'll talk to her. He talked to her for an hour. He came back to the husband and says, I think you should take the poison. Now, it's a funny joke, and it's sad. But even if a man is upset with his wife, but to yell at her in public, you're not going to have a good name. You're not going to have a good name. A woman to yell at her husband, she's not going to have a good name. You think that by telling a lie, you're getting yourself out of a tough situation. Yeah, but you're not going to have a good name. You think bad-mouthing people makes you an interesting conversationalist? Maybe. But I'm telling you, people, you're not going to have a good name. To cultivate a good name, you have to be worried. Somebody sees you taking a drink. I made a bracha already. Otherwise, Rabbi Weiss doesn't make brachas. You want to have a good name. You want to be above suspicion. I told you many times, Reuven Feinstein has such a good name. He has a house on the corner of Bloomingdale and Drumgoole Avenue. He fulfills the Gemara. He puts a menorah by his window on Drumgoole and a menorah by his window on Bloomingdale. So that people that pass Drumgoole shouldn't think he's not lighting the menorah. That's being above suspicion. You think somebody's going to think that the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva of Staten Island, Rav Moshe's son, is not lighting the Megillah? That's being above suspicion. I go to a smorgasbord, and in one corner of the room, I have some sweetbreads. I like sweetbreads. I make a shahakal on the sweetbreads. Then I go to the other corner. I shouldn't tell anybody. I have a cup of soda. Now, I already made a shahakal. I made it on the sweetbreads. But people see Rabbi Weiss go to the bar and have a soda, they'll see me, they'll say, he doesn't make a bracha. He does the same thing. So before I drink the soda, I say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And then I drink the soda. So they think I made a bracha. That's watching a Shem Tov, a good name. You got to watch your good name. Again, we thank Shelley Zeitlin and Binyamin Rivlin for supporting the shir. Remember, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, a special shir, a special for the Shabbos table, Rosh Chodesh Adar, called Let's Get Ready for Purim. And now we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis.